Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. I'm Margaret Johnson, a Canadian independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today's card that we're making is an Eclipse card. It's a technique where you die cut letters and you just pop them out over top of the area where they're die cut from. So usually you have a stamped background or something, or a little bit stamped on there, just to add some interest and fun to the card. So this one says joy, and we have stamped a little scenery on it to kind of create a nighttime scene. So let's go ahead and get at it. Again, with this card, as in one of my recent videos, we are doing some sponging. So let's just get to it. All right. So first off, let's start with our cardstock requirements, what we are going to need. So we have our base, which is Old Olive. Again, it's 5.5 by 8.5, scored along the 8.5 side at 4 1/4. So you can go ahead and fold that in half and set it aside. Next we have Basic Black. It is cut at 4 1/16 by 5 5/16. And our final piece is from the Merry Music Specialty Designer Series paper. That's only available for a limited time. And I have cut this out of one of the pieces with the music for, well, it says Bethlehem in it. That's really bad that I don't know the name of the song, so I apologize. Oh, the backside has some fun pattern on it too. But we are going to use this one, and we are going to get started right away, and we are going to stamp all of our scenery. Then we're going to do some sponging. Then we'll do our die cutting and assembling. So let's start off with our houses. So I've got a few. I've had to like mount on a million little blocks here, so I apologize. So let's get our church stamped first. And then a house on either side. Whoops, he's a little crooked. When you have a camera over top of your workspace, it's really hard to get in there and see what you're doing. Okay, I'm trying to get all my outlines done first in the black before I go and use my images that actually fill them in. I'm going to stamp a tree over here, peel him off, and grab my other tree. Stamp a little tree over here. And we're going to scrub. So I guess I should tell you what stamp set I'm using. Silly me. So for the scenery, I'm using In the City, which is a hostess only exclusive stamp set out of the current catalog. It has a million little images. The fun thing is it has the outline, which we've just done, but it also has the solid image so that you can go back and stamp over top and fill in the cut with color. So we've got our trees here that we're using. So we're going to go ahead now and fill those in with color after we stamp our stars for the night sky that we're using from Moon Baby. Sometimes you just have to use from other stamp sets. So let's go ahead and quickly stamp a few of those. Have as many or as little, as few I guess I should say, as you like. Okay, good enough for me. Let's throw that aside. Okay, so all my outlines are done. Get those set aside so I don't mix them up. Now we're going to go ahead and fill in our images. So we're going to use Dapper Denim for the church. Find the right image there. Ink that up. And let's just line that up over top as best we can. Not too horrible. I'm going to leave that open because I will need that again. Real red for our house on the one side. Whoa, did you see that? Whoops. So before I stamp, I'm just going to wipe this off. I tell you, those juicy ink pads, you got to be careful. This is another reason why you definitely don't want to rock your stamps when you stamp down. Not too bad. Now we have to clean this one because we're going to use Peekaboo Peach. Probably should have done that one first because it is a lighter color, but not horrible. It's not the end of the world. I'm just going to spritz up my Stampin' Scrub. I try and get off as much ink as I can on my scrap paper before I process it in here. Can you see how much red came off of there still? This is why you need to clean your Stampin' Scrubs every once in a while. Even when you clean it on the dry side, it still transfers ink over here. Okay, get off any excess. And we'll use our Peekaboo Peach. That over that house. Okay, get those out of the way. Now we're going to use Old Olive to fill in the trees. That is, yeah, solid tree image. Okay, and I need the other little one. Get him in there. Okay, so that's all our houses done. Now we want to fill in our stars. So I've gone ahead and used, the reason I use Memento Black on this is because we're going to go ahead and use our Stampin' Blends, the new Stampin' Blends. So I should hold it that way. So we've got our light Daffodil Delight and our dark Daffodil Delight. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill it in. I find, just so you know, because this specialty paper is so thin that the black ink actually still does run a little bit and bleed out. You won't see that so much on the thicker white cardstock or watercolor paper, things like that. But on this really thin stuff, I find that the black can still bleed. But you do want to use the Memento Black because that works properly for alcohol markers. Okay, so that's the light, and we're just going to add a little bit of shading with the dark along a couple edges here. Doesn't have to be fancy, just gives it a little bit of depth and dimension. Almost done. Maybe add a little more to that one. Okay, so that's our Stampin' Blends. Okay, now we're gonna sponge our sky around this. So we're gonna use Pool Party and a sponge. And I wasn't too concerned going, at first I was, but then I was like, oh, whatever. Sponging over top the images I've just colored. They held up fairly well, so. And I'm just doing it lightly. Try and get as much of the white out as possible. Or just so it's not so bright white. Okay, so that's Pool Party. Hold this up a little so you can see that it's not really white anymore, it's just a light blue from sponging. So get that out of our way. Go on to the Dapper Denim. Okay. And I'm just going to darken it up in a few spots. Not everywhere, just more around those outside edges. So it just pops it out a little bit more. So once you've got it where you like it, however dark or however light you like it, set the ink pads aside, and we are now going to die cut our joy. So we are using the large letters framelits dies. So let me just grab this whole set here. So the large letters framelits. So it comes with the entire alphabet. There's 3 pages, 3 sheets of dies. So we're going to take our joy. Now, what I recommend is taking your magnetic platform with your one cutting pad on it, placing that down first. And this way you can magnetize these dies exactly into place where you want them. So take my J. Because the J is such a narrow letter, I'm actually going to set the O a little ways away from it. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit of space in between. Whereas the Y is bulky and the O is pretty bulky. So I'm actually going to attach those two, okay? And I'm going to shift everything over a little bit more this way. Now, I don't know if you can tell what I'm doing, but I'm actually using the lines on the music notes here to line up the tops of my dies to help me figure out exactly where I need to be. I'm just going to pull this a little closer to myself so I can actually see. So again, we have a little bit of a space between the J and the O, but I've got the O and the Y dies touching here. So you can see that. And thanks to a magnetic platform, it holds it all in place for me while I show you. Once you have it where you want it, take your other cutting pad, put it over top, get your big shot, and I'm going to have to move this before I can get my big shot in here. Okay, get your big shot, put it in the platform, run it through. I'm trying not to hit my tripod and bump the whole video, so I apologize. Get it at the back end here. I have to move it. There we go. Okay. So you want to make sure you keep all your pieces. Slide that off. How fun is that? So everything stayed in the dies, which stayed attached to my magnetic platform. All right, now you have this big open space. We're going to go ahead and we're going to attach this to our basic black cardstock mat. Okay, so let's get our snail adhesive. Now one thing, now that we have die cuts, I don't only put snail on the outside edges, but I actually get it around these letters too. Watch when you do that Y, the top of that Y there, that you go down instead of up, so you don't end up ripping it. It's pretty good. Okay, so you're going to layer this on the basic black. Okay, so you got your open space here. So we need all pieces. Normally when you die cut letters, you get rid of that center piece for the O, but we actually need to keep it. So what I do is I lay this in here, in the negative space, like so. Then I put adhesive on the center piece, because that's the one that has to actually stick directly to the basic black. And we'll get that in there. Okay, now we're gonna pop our O back out. Okay, and so now we've got our joy back. So this is fun all on its own, but we're gonna make the whole image with all these stamped images come back together again by popping these up. So you want it to stand out, so we're going to attach mini dimensionals to the back. So on the O, I use 4 of them. As you can see, the alcohol marker bleeds through that thin paper pretty easy, so you definitely want to make sure you have some cardstock in behind. Get the film backing off of your mini dimensionals. Ooh, short nails. Sometimes they work well, sometimes they don't. Okay, and obviously when you go to put it down, make sure your stamped image is situated correctly. And then you're just going to line that up right over top of where it was die cut and attach. So you can see it's right over top, but you've got, because it's raised up, you can see that shadow of the black in behind, so it stands out and you can actually still read it, even though all the imagery is the same from the background to the foreground. Okay, so the J, we're going to get a couple on here. I do, whoops, did I get that on there? Ooh, it's just sticking out. I don't like that. Gently peel that off. Okay, let me focus a little better. Okay, so I'm going to do 3. One down there, one near the top. Again, get those off. All right, and we're going to line this one up. So we got our J in place, and now we just need our Y. Whoop. Okay. So one near the base of the Y, one up before it splits, one on this top end here. And this other top end's a little tricky, it's a little bit narrower, but you do it right and it should fit. Just get that paper backing off again. I'm going to start from the bottom. Okay, now that one's in place and we can go ahead and attach this to our card base. Right. And I just wanted a little bit of extra sparkle and shine on this card just to make the joy pop a bit more. So what I did was I took our basic rhinestones. I had fun with these the last time I tried to pick these up. Let's see how well I fare this time. Okay. Now I kind of wanted these all one on each letter, but I didn't like that I was having a hard time, you know, doing kind of the triangle pattern that they say that's pleasing to the eye. So I ended up doing one off. So I do one on the lower J, the little round bubbly part of the J, and then one on the top of the Y, and we're going to put one down in the tree here. Whoops, run away, slide them over. Okay, all right, so let's see if we can catch that in the light. So can you see the rhinestones? One there, and one there, so it kind of creates that triangle pattern. And you have your joy card. So again, some sponging, go as light or as dark as you want. You got your night stars, you got your little church, and the word joy. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have fun playing with the Eclipse technique and creating your own cards with whatever sayings you want. Have a great day.